Welcome back, everyone, to the Wisdom of Lao Tzu.
Great to be back.
Today, we're really going deep into Lao Tzu's profound reverse operations wisdom. We're focusing on chapter 22 of the Tao Te Ching.
That's right.
And our mission, really, in this deep dive is to gently, but maybe fundamentally, challenge some of our most deeply ingrained beliefs. Beliefs about strength, success, what it even means to be whole.
Especially in a world that seems to pull us in the exact opposite direction most of the time.
Exactly. We're going to try and reveal how embracing paradox, this idea of bending to be preserved, yielding to be straightened, being empty to be filled, how that can lead to a kind of, unshakable wholeness, maybe even invincibility.
It sounds radical.
It does. So get ready to maybe rethink everything you thought you knew about winning.
Okay.
We've talked before about Lao Tzu's deep admiration for water, how he saw it as embodying the greatest good.
Right. It's humility, it's flexibility.
Yeah, he praised its humility, how it settles in the lowest places, nourishing everything without competing. He saw that unique flexibility, that quiet strength, as mirroring the very essence of the Tao.
It's such a powerful image, isn't it? This humble, yielding force that is paradoxically incredibly powerful and endearing.
It really is, and it embodies a virtue that, like you said, feels almost alien to how many of us typically live.
Yeah, we often live more like rigid stones, I think. Convinced that the path to success has to be about being higher, faster, stronger. That straight line.
And pushing upwards.
Right. We're constantly seeking those perfectly straight paths, chasing what we imagine are ideal, perfect lives, expecting this relentless, linear upward climb. Think about it. We exhaust ourselves trying to fill in every single valley in our lives, instead of maybe learning to just rest in them, to let them be.
Or even see the value in them.
Exactly. We spend so much energy trying to force everything that seems bent into a perfectly straight line. We completely overlook the immense strength, maybe even revolutionary strength, that might be hidden inside that curve.
Yeah.
We've just become absolutely convinced that success is this one-way street, this upward charge, a constant climb to the top.
And yet, as we push ourselves so relentlessly down this path, chasing this elusive perfection, pouring everything we have into it until we're just utterly exhausted, don't certain kind of unsettling questions start bubbling up?
They do. It's like that dissonant note you sometimes hear deep down.
Exactly. Why is it that the more we obsessively chase what seems like a perfect, complete whole, the perfect job, the perfect relationship, the perfect image, the more we often end up feeling, a deeper, more unfillable sense of being fundamentally broken?
That's a question that gnaws at so many people, I think. It's a common experience.
It really is.
And it goes even deeper, doesn't it? Why is it that the more we yearn to be strong, constantly forging ourselves, grinding away, trying to handle everything life throws at us on our own terms, the more we sometimes feel this unprecedented sense of almost fragility inside?
Right. Not physical fragility, but something else.
No, not physical at all.
Yeah.
It's a profound spiritual and emotional fragility. That feeling of self-doubt that just leaves you feeling powerless when real adversity hits, even if you've been trying so hard to appear invincible.
Yeah.
These kinds of bewildering things, they really compel us to wonder, could it be that our very understanding of what whole and strong even mean has been fundamentally off, right from the start?
It's a deeply uncomfortable question to sit with, isn't it?
It is.
Could the fundamental law of the universe not be the straight line logic we take for granted, but actually a paradoxical, curved wisdom that we haven't really learned to grasp or embrace? And it's right after praising water so beautifully that Lao Tzu in chapter 22 unveils this ultimate secret hidden behind everything. He tells us something truly radical.
Yeah, what does he say?
To be preserved, you must learn to bend. To be straightened, you must learn to yield. To be filled, you must be willing to be empty.
Wow. I mean, that is a radical departure from conventional wisdom, especially today in our achievement-driven culture.
Absolutely. What kind of wisdom is this? And how could it fundamentally overturn our views on success, on life itself, on the very fabric of the world?
That's the core question, isn't it? Our goal in this deep dive is to really unpack how this revolutionary reverse operations wisdom works.
And to grasp this mystery, I think we have to first go back to the ancient text itself. Just quietly listen to that original voice from 2,500 years ago.
Agreed. Let the words sink in.
All right, let's try to clear our minds and just allow these ancient words to wash over us. We'll be using Philip J. Ivanhoe's translation from 2003. It really captures the elegant simplicity of Lao Tzu's message, I think.
Okay.
Bent, it becomes whole. Crooked, it becomes straight. depleted, it becomes full. Worn out, it becomes new. Having little, one can gain. Having much, one is confused.
Just those first lines.
Yeah. Then he continues. This is why sages embrace the one and become models for the world. By not showing off, they shine. By not asserting themselves, they are prominent. By not praising themselves, they have merit. By not being arrogant, they endure.
Powerful contrast.
Incredibly.
Yeah.
And then the culmination, it is because they do not contend that no one in the world can contend with them. The ancient saying, bent, it becomes whole, is not empty talk. Truly becoming whole returns one to this.
Wow. Reading that again, you really have to admit, it sounds completely counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Totally.
I mean, from the moment we're old enough to understand anything, we're taught, strive for the top, break before you bend, always believe more is better. And true strength means being rigid, unwavering.
Don't back down.
Exactly. Yet Lao Tzu tells us the truly wise path is the exact opposite of what we've been conditioned to believe our whole lives. It's a fundamental flip of our expectations, a complete reversal of our assumptions about what leads to success and wholeness.
It really makes you wonder how we could have possibly gotten it so wrong. Or maybe we've just been looking at the world through, I don't know, skewed glasses, fighting battles we didn't need to fight.
That's a great way to put it. And to really wrap our heads around this core paradox, this idea that weakness can be strength, yielding can be triumph. Maybe we can use a vivid analogy, something from the world of combat.
Okay, I like analogies.
Imagine a fight. On one side, you have the boxer.
Okay.
The boxer, in our analogy, represents that line. Having much, one is confused. He believes entirely in brute power, aggressive offense.
Right. Power punches.
Throws punch after punch, trying to overwhelm his opponent with sheer volume, sheer force. All about outward display, assertion. But what happens when you fight like that?
You get tired. You leave yourself open.
Exactly. It consumes immense stamina.
Right.
And paradoxically, by leaving himself wide open to land more punches, he actually leaves himself incredibly vulnerable to a counterattack.
Yeah.
His much leads directly to confusion and exposure.
Makes sense. So who's on the other side?
On the other side, you have the judo master.
Ah, okay.
This master embodies bent. It becomes whole. The judo master never attacks first. In fact, they might even deliberately put themselves in what looks like a disadvantaged position, something that looks depleted or bent.
Interesting.
When faced with the opponent's much, their powerful, aggressive force, the judo master meets it not with more force, but with little. They never directly oppose that power.
So what do?
Instead, they gracefully yield to the opponent's momentum, effortlessly using their opponent's own strength, their own excessive attack against them.
Using their force against them.
Precisely. By subtly redirecting that energy, the judo master causes the opponent to lose balance and then can easily subdue them. The victory doesn't come from brute strength or overwhelming force. It comes from profound wisdom, from this deep, almost intuitive understanding of the paradoxical power of yielding.
So Lao Tzu is basically saying the sage, the truly wise person, is like a judo master in life.
That's exactly it. They embody this approach not just in, a physical fight, but in every interaction, every challenge they face. It's a life philosophy.
That's why he says this is why sages embrace the one and become models for the world.
Exactly. And what is this one? It's not just the number one. It's the core unifying principle of the Tao itself, the ultimate source, the underlying reality of all existence.
The fundamental truth.
Kind of, yeah. The sage holds tightly to this central principle, using it as their model, their paradigm for how they move through the world, how they interact with everything and everyone. And right at the heart of this model is the wisdom of non-contention.
Non-contention.
It's an art of achieving goals through yielding, overcoming the hard with the soft without direct conflict. It's the ultimate soft power, you could say.
And then he breaks down the specific principles of this judo mindset. He gives us these powerful 4 don'ts.
Right, the practical application.
By not showing off, they shine. Which I guess really means when you quiet down, stop seeking the spotlight, let go of needing external validation, your genuine inner light, your real abilities, can actually be seen and appreciated.
It's not hidden by the effort of showing off.
Right. And by not asserting themselves, they are prominent. So when you stop insisting you're right, stop needing to be the loudest voice, your true value, your contribution, it just naturally becomes apparent to everyone else. You don't have to force people to recognize it.
It flows naturally. And then, by not praising themselves, they have merit. A true victory, a real accomplishment. It speaks for itself, doesn't it?
It really does.
People observing it see it clearly, often much clearer, more sincerely than you could ever boast about it yourself. Think about it.
Yeah.
When someone constantly praises themselves, it often just rings hollow or even backfires.
Yeah, it can be on-putting.
But when someone's actions truly speak for themselves, their merit is undeniable.
Mm.
And finally, by not being arrogant, they endure. Pride, by its very nature, makes you rigid, inflexible, brittle.
Like the tree that snaps in the wind.
Exactly. It's only humility that allows you to be like water, which, as we said, never runs dry. It adapts, it flows, it persists. And by doing that, it outlasts all the rigid obstacles.
And the wisdom of these four don'ts, it all culminates in that incredibly powerful, famous line, "It is because they do not contend that no one in the world can contend with them."
It's profound. It's as if this judo master has reached the absolute highest level of martial arts.
Yeah.
They've given up the very idea of winning in the conventional sense, the struggle, the conflict.
Right.
And precisely because of that, they can never truly lose. They transform potential confrontation into this harmonious, almost effortless dance. They become unassailable simply by refusing to play the game of conflict on its usual terms.
Wow. And it feels like Lao Tzu knew this would sound almost unbelievable.
Yeah, he anticipates our skepticism.
Because he then emphasizes, the ancient saying, "bent, it becomes whole," is not empty talk, like, hey, pay attention, this is real.
Right. This isn't just poetry. And that final line, truly becoming whole, returns one to this. That's crucial. It elevates wholeness beyond just worldly success or getting what you want externally.
It's something deeper.
Much deeper. It returns one to this. Back to the source, back to the one, back to the Tao itself. It's a profound homecoming, a deep internal alignment that goes way beyond fleeting external circumstances.
Okay, so hearing the text and this initial interpretation, it really does feel like we've been handed a kind of judo manual for life.
That's a good way to think about it.
We've seen the moves, we've understood the instructions, but, to truly grasp its internal power, we can't just stay on the surface. We need to go deeper.
Absolutely.
Right.
What profound views on the cosmos, on society, on human life itself are really hidden behind these seemingly contradictory sentences.
Yeah, let's take our questions and really dig into the core of this manual.
Okay, so our first deep question today. What multidimensional laws of the universe, society, and the human heart does this paradox, bent it becomes whole, actually reveal?
Right. Where does this idea come from?
Well, to fundamentally understand why Lao Tzu's opening 6 paradoxes, bent is whole, crooked is straight, depleted is full, and so on, are presented as true, we first have to connect them to the core cosmology of the Tao Te Ching. It's not just a random collection of clever sayings.
It's built on a foundation.
Exactly. It's built in a fundamental understanding of how the universe operates.
And this brings us back to chapter 40, right? Which lays down that foundational law of physics, you could say, of the Tao itself.
Yes, precisely. Chapter 40 famously states, reversal is the movement of the Tao, weakness is the function of the Tao.
Reversal is the movement, weakness is the function.
Okay, so if chapter 40 is the overarching cosmic law of physics, the fundamental way things move and change, then chapter 22 is basically the lab report showing this law in action.
Ah, I see. The proof.
Kind of. It's precisely because the sage observes and understands this core principle, that all things, when pushed to their absolute extreme, will inevitably swing back to their opposite, that he proactively chooses states of being that might seem conventionally weak, like being bent, crooked, or depleted.
Because he knows they'll reverse.
Exactly. He knows this isn't weakness at all. It's the most effective, the most profound way to align himself with the greatest force in the universe. And by doing that, he achieves the ultimate goals of becoming whole, straight, and full. It's like planting a seed, isn't it? It has to go down into the earth, into the darkness, before it can grow up towards the light.
That makes sense. So with that cosmic framework in mind, let's unpack how these paradoxes show up in different levels, starting with the most obvious, maybe, the level of natural law.
Right. This is the simplest, most direct manifestation of the Tao in the material world all around us. We see it everywhere.
Like the tree you mentioned.
Exactly. Think about a tree in a hurricane. A tree that knows how to bend with the fierce winds, allowing itself to flex, is preserved whole. It survives.
While the rigid one snaps.
Right. Conversely, the rigid, unyielding tree is often the first to break. Or think about a river or the sea. Why do they become full? It's because they are inherently depleted or low-lying. That allows them to gather all the streams and rivers into themselves.
Your emptiness allies fullness.
Precisely. Likewise, the moon appears to wane, to diminish, having little, only to become full again, gaining its complete luminous form. And the seasons themselves, they follow this exact cyclical pattern, moving from the apparent decay and worn-out state of winter to the vibrant new growth of spring.
It's everywhere in nature.
It is. These pervasive natural phenomena reveal a fundamental principle. The true life force of the universe thrives in softness, in yielding, in humility, and in cycles, not in rigid, one-directional, confrontational strength. It's a profound lesson whispered by the very fabric of existence, if we just listen.
And this isn't just about trees and rivers, is it? Ancient Chinese commentators saw this applying directly to human society, too.
Oh, absolutely. One particularly influential figure, He Shangan, a Han Dynasty commentator known for emphasizing practical application, especially for longevity. He interpreted bent, it becomes whole, quite literally. He saw it as bending oneself to follow the group, or accommodating the collective.
So fitting in.
In a way,
Yeah.
but it's more nuanced than just conforming. In the intricate dance of complex social relationships, knowing when to yield and accommodate others is, paradoxically, the most effective way to ultimately preserve yourself and your interests in the long run.
Okay, so it's pragmatic.
Very pragmatic. This isn't about being unprincipled or a pushover. It's practical wisdom for long-term survival and thriving within a community or organization. Think about it. Someone who's too rigid, too sharp-edged, too insistent on their own way within a group, they often end up making enemies everywhere. Even their good intentions can get blocked or rejected.
Yeah, I've seen that happen.
Right. Conversely, someone who understands how to be crooked to become straight on non-essential issues, maybe making a temporary concession, appearing less rigid, they gain long-term flexibility, they foster harmony, and ultimately, they often achieve their goals far more effectively than through brute force or constant insistence. It's about building bridges, not walls.
But then the great philosopher Wang Bi, who is known for his much deeper philosophical focus, especially on inner spiritual cultivation, he took this even further, didn't he?
He did. Wang Bi argued that these external physical paradoxes are really just the outward expression of the sage's inner character. He saw a direct, almost mirror-like connection between the outer world and the inner state.
How so?
He directly linked them. Bent is whole, he said, corresponds to by not showing off. Crooked is straight corresponds to by not asserting themselves. Depleted is full to by not praising themselves. And worn out is new to by not being arrogant.
Wow, a one-to-one mapping.
Exactly. In Wang Bai's profound view, outer wholeness is the inevitable natural result of the inner bending that comes from not showing off. Why? Because actions like showing off or asserting oneself, they're fundamentally expressions of the small, limited self, what we often call the ego.
Okay.
They isolate a self from the larger whole. They create a solitary, rigid, and ultimately vulnerable target.
Yeah.
But the bending of not showing off, that dissolves the ego. It allows you to return to and merge with the larger whole, the Tao. And that is where true, unshakable security comes from, not from constantly trying to prove yourself.
So inner and outer are two sides of the same coin.
For Wang Bai, absolutely. Two sides of the same natural way. It's all about cultivating the inner landscape to naturally influence the outer world.
And then, bringing in another perspective, the Ming Dynasty's Zen master Han Shan the King, who blended Taoism, Buddhism, and Confucianism. He added yet another layer, right? Something about compassion and proactivity.
Yes, his interpretation is beautiful. He creatively read bent, it becomes whole, as bending to perfect all things.
Bending to perfect, so it's active.
Exactly. Here, bending isn't a passive retreat at all. It's an active, loving, profoundly wise act of lowering oneself, or condescending in the best sense of the word, like the gentle, nurturing energy of spring that bends itself down to meticulously nourish and bring all things to fulfillment.
Can you give an example?
Think of a truly great teacher. They bend their teaching style to perfectly suit students with different abilities and ways of learning, right? They don't just rigidly stick to one method for everyone.
Right, they adapt.
Or a wise leader who takes an inclusive, accommodating approach to unite different factions rather than trying to force everyone into the same mold. This kind of bending is always for the sake of perfecting something greater. It's a form of active acting for the benefit of all beings, operating at the highest level. It's leadership rooted in deep empathy and wisdom.
So many layers. How do we bring these all together? Natural law, society, inner character, compassion.
Well, the contemporary scholar Chen Guiying offers a really helpful analogy that integrates them beautifully. It's the root and branches analogy.
Okay, he suggests that these paradoxical states, bent, crooked, depleted, worn out, they're like the unseen roots buried deep underground.
The hidden foundation.
Exactly. while their corresponding positive outcomes, whole, straight, full, new, are the visible, glorious branches and leaves growing above ground.
Okay, I can picture that.
And here's the crucial insight. Ordinary people, Jen Guy argues, only chase the flourishing of the leaves. They're like gardeners who just spray water and wax on the leaves, pursuing that superficial instant shine while completely ignoring the foundation. They want the immediate payoff, the visible success.
Right, the surface appearance.
But the sage's wisdom lies in understanding that all true, lasting prosperity and growth comes from quietly, diligently nurturing the roots. The sage puts their energy into loosening the soil, fertilizing, watering. They know that only with deep, healthy roots can the branches and leaves truly be lush, vibrant, and enduring.
It's a long-term foundational approach, substance over show.
Precisely. It's about investing in the unseen foundation for lasting results. That makes so much sense. So, looking at all these layers, cosmic law, nature, society, inner self, compassion, roots, what's the single most powerful unifying truth here for us today? What most challenges our modern way of thinking?
That's a great question. I think the unifying truth is this. True strength and enduring success don't come from relentless striving, rigid control, or just piling up external stuff.
The higher, faster, stronger model.
Right. Instead, real strength arises from aligning ourselves with the natural, paradoxical flow of the universe, a flow that embraces flexibility, humility, and the cyclical nature of things. It's the profound realization that often the path less traveled, the path of apparent yielding or bending, is actually the shortest, most effective route to unshakable wholeness.
It really does flip our competitive mindset completely on its head.
It absolutely does.
Okay, so with this multidimensional understanding, let's move to our second big question. How does the sage actually practice this wisdom of bent, it becomes whole in their daily life?
Right, the practical side.
After revealing the fundamental law, Lao Tzu points directly to the sage's path. This is why sages embrace the one and become models for the world. So what exactly is embracing the one, and how does it translate into specific actions?
Well, just like with the paradoxes themselves, various masters throughout history have offered different yet equally valid interpretations of embracing the one. Think of them as different paths leading to the same summit.
Okay.
One mainstream philosophical interpretation, championed by scholars like Wang Bi and the contemporary philosopher Fu Perong, sees one not just as a number, but as the singular ultimate source, the Tao, that underlies and unifies everything in the universe.
Source all things.
Exactly. So embracing the one means tracing everything back from the complex many, all the phenomena we see, to this unifying extreme of the few, the fundamental Tao.
Like you said before, returning from the branches to the root.
Precisely. It's like understanding a huge, complex tree, not by getting lost in its thousands of leaves, but by grasping its single trunk and its deep root system. Professor Fu Perong describes this, from a modern perspective, as having a holistic view.
Seeing the whole picture.
Right. When you can see problems from this comprehensive, holistic perspective, you naturally see that bent and whole or depleted and full aren't enemies. They're not mutually exclusive opposites.
They're just stages.
Exactly. Different dynamic stages of the same underlying process. This holistic view lets you transcend rigid, binary, either thinking. It allows you to maintain inner peace and stability even when the world around you is constantly changing. It's like seeing the entire forest, not just getting fixated on one tree.
Okay, that's one interpretation. What else?
Then you have the interpretation from the Song Dynasty scholar Tzu. His thinking was deeply influenced by Neo-Confucianism, which tried to synthesize Confucian, Buddhist, and Taoist ideas. He beautifully suggested that to embrace the one is to return to one's original nature.
Original nature.
Yes. Here, one points to the innate, pure nature within each person, a nature that, he believed, is identical to the Tao itself before it gets obscured by acquired desires and worldly conditioning.
So the Tao is inside us.
In this view, yes. Therefore, embracing the one isn't about searching for some abstract Tao out there. It's a profound inward journey, returning to the pure source of life that resides within you.
How do you do that?
Tzu suggested it requires cleansing the dust of acquired habits like polishing a dusty mirror to allow that unified, pure, untainted original nature to shine forth again. It's an internal purification process.
That's a very different feel, more introspective.
Very much so. And then there's a fascinating, very practical perspective from the contemporary scholar Ching. He takes a more structural, functional view.
Okay.
He argues that we shouldn't detach the meaning of embracing the one from its specific place in the chapter. He sees that sentence perfectly positioned right between the six paradoxes at the beginning and the four don'ts that follow. It acts like a bridge connecting them.
Linking the principles to the actions.
Exactly. So for Zhang, the most reasonable explanation is that embracing the one simply means the sage adheres to, embraces, and remains consistent with one, the six paradoxical principles mentioned right before it.
Ah, so one means consistency with those principles.
Right. This interpretation cleverly avoids getting lost in metaphysical speculation. It grounds embracing the one in a concrete, actionable code of conduct. It tells us the sage's way isn't some mysterious, unattainable enlightenment, but rather the firm, consistent practice of applying these reverse wisdom principles. Like bent, it becomes whole in everyday life.
That makes it very practical.
Extremely. It makes the chapter's logical flow exceptionally clear and powerful for anyone trying to actually live this wisdom. It's about embodying the principles, not just thinking about them.
Okay, so whether we see the one as the cosmic source, our own pure nature, or consistency with the principles, embracing the one seems to be about finding and aligning with some kind of fundamental unifying truth that cuts through the daily chaos.
I think that's a great way to summarize it.
And this alignment then leads to specific behaviors, which brings us back to those four don'ts. By not showing off, they shine. By not asserting themselves, they are prominent. By not praising themselves, they have merit. By not being arrogant, they endure. All these interpretations, in their own ways, seem to point to one core practice, overcoming the ego.
Absolutely. That's the common thread. And to really understand the depth of wisdom in these four don'ts, it's incredibly helpful to compare them with Chapter 24 of the Tao Te Ching.
Okay, what does Chapter 24 say?
Chapter 24 says things like, "He who shows himself is not luminous. He who justifies himself is not distinguished. He who boasts has no merit. He who praises himself does not endure."
Wow, it's almost the negative image of Chapter 22.
Exactly. They're like a positive, negative pair, two sides of the same coin. Chapter 24 is like a doctor's don't do this list, warning us about the negative consequences of self-inflating behaviors, how they lead to stagnation and failure.
And Chapter 22?
Chapter 22 gives us the nourishing remedies, the positive actions demonstrated by the sage himself. Reading the two together makes it crystal clear. The humility Lao Tzu talks about isn't just, being meek or having good manners.
It's strategic.
It's a profound insight into the laws of nature and effective human interaction. It's a strategic move based on understanding how things actually work, not just a moral ideal.
And speaking of profound insights, didn't Tzu offer that amazing mirror analogy for by not showing off, they shine?
Yes, it's a classic. He famously said, "The eye does not see itself so it can see things. The mirror does not reflect itself so it can reflect things."
Simple but deep.
Very. He elaborated further, saying if the eye or the mirror were busy looking at themselves or reflecting themselves, they'd be so completely occupied with their own self-image that they'd have no capacity left to perceive anything external, to truly reflect the world as it is.
It'd be too self-absorbed.
Exactly. The sage's mind, he argues, works the same way. Precisely because their mind isn't cluttered with the biases, desires, and ambitions of the self, the ego, it maintains a state of empty clarity.
Like a clean mirror.
Perfect analogy. And because of this clarity, it can truly reflect the nature of all things as they are, without distortion. This is the highest wisdom, achieving clarity about things through the profound act of emptying the self. It's about creating internal spaciousness to truly receive and understand the world.
There's also that sovereign's analogy, right, from commentators like He Shengong and Zhang Jing, who sometimes incorporated ideas from legalist thought.
Yes, they interpreted not showing off in a political context as a leader seeing through the eyes of the world.
Meaning?
A truly wise ruler, they argued, doesn't rely solely on their own limited perspective. That would be foolish. Instead, they use the eyes of all their subjects to observe the situation. They gather diverse viewpoints, different insights, and therefore they see things most clearly.
It's sophisticated political wisdom.
Very. If a ruler trusts only their own eyes, their vision is inherently limited, biased, easily deceived. But a wise ruler knows how to effectively turn the eyes and ears of the entire world into their own, breaking through personal limitations to gain the clearest, most comprehensive understanding of the whole situation.
It shows how humility and broad perspective are crucial even for exercising power effectively.
Absolutely. It's not weakness, it's intelligent leadership.
It's incredible how these ancient texts offer insights that resonate across philosophy, psychology, politics, And we can see this playing out in actual history, too, not just theory. You mentioned Napoleon Bonaparte earlier.
Yes, his life is a fascinating case study of this chapter, both the positive and the negative. His early life vividly illustrates the power of bent. It becomes whole.
How so?
Well, think about him as a young, obscure officer from Corsica. He was an outsider in the French establishment. To rise through the ranks, he couldn't just impose his will. He had to endure countless slights, navigate treacherous political waters, make strategic concessions.
He had to bet.
He absolutely had to bend. He was known for his ability to adapt, to appear less threatening when necessary, to bide his time. His immense ambition was preserved and ultimately realized through a kind of strategic bending, a willingness to yield or appear subordinate when it served his long-term goals.
Okay.
He knew when to appear depleted or crooked to avoid being cut down too early.
But then
The second half of his life becomes this tragic counterexample. After he crowned himself emperor, that humility just eroded. He failed to maintain the wisdom of not praising himself and not being arrogant.
hubris set in.
Completely. Believing in his own invincibility, his ego grew unchecked. This led to repeated overreach, culminating in that disastrous invasion of Russia, a campaign that stretched his forces beyond all reason.
A fatal mistake.
Absolutely.
Huh.
That inability to be content, to bend, to acknowledge limits, it led directly to his downfall and exile. He stands as this really poignant cautionary tale, illustrating both the power of yielding to achieve greatness and the incredibly perilous consequences of arrogance once that greatness has been won.
Wow. And it's not just within Taoism that we find this focus on overcoming the ego, is it? Professor Fu Perong pointed out a striking similarity with Confucius.
Yes, it's fascinating. Lao Tzu's four don'ts, not showing off, not asserting, not praising, not being arrogant, run parallel to Confucius's famous four prohibitions. No groundless conjectures, no absolute certainty, no obstinacy, no ego.
They share a common core.
Definitely. Overcoming the ego. Whether it's Lao Tzu's not asserting themselves, matching Confucius's no absolute certainty, or the link between not being arrogant and no ego, the underlying goal for both sages is to break down that subjective, rigid, self-righteous small self.
Well, why? What does that achieve?
It allows a broader, more objective wisdom to emerge. For Lao Tzu, overcoming the ego is essential to align with the natural, non-active Tao and its cosmic flow. For Confucius, it's more about practicing social ethics effectively and fostering harmonious human relationships within society.
Different goals? Maybe, but the same obstacle.
Exactly. Though their paths and ultimate aims might seem different, one cosmic, one social, both sages clearly saw the ego as the single greatest obstacle to attaining the highest wisdom and living a flourishing, truly complete life. It's a cross-cultural, timeless insight into human nature.
Okay, this brings us logically to our third major question. How is non-contention truly invincible? And what ultimately is this state of being whole that Lao Tzu describes?
Right. The culmination.
The wisdom of this chapter, as we said, peaks with that powerful line. It is because they do not contend that no one in the world can contend with them. That's a really bold claim, isn't it? How can not fighting make you unbeatable?
It is bold and it's profound. Why does non-contention lead to invincibility? The key is understanding it's not weakness. It's not just passive avoidance. It's the highest wisdom of dissolving confrontation itself. It's a meta-strategy.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about a famous minister in an ancient Chinese kingdom. He lived during a time of brutal political struggles, intense court intrigue, really dangerous stuff. He repeatedly yielded high positions like commander-in-chief to others. He just stepped back from the fierce competition.
That seems like losing, though.
On the surface, maybe. His actions look like profound non-contention, like stepping away from the fight. But by doing that, he actually won for himself and his family the most stable political standing. He cultivated the deepest, most reliable network of allies because he wasn't seen as a threat or a rival.
Oh, okay.
He didn't compete for the often empty title of commander. Instead, he gained the real tangible benefit of long-term security, influence, and peace for his entire clan. That's the true essence of non-contention.
So by not fighting for the symbol, he got the substance?
Precisely. When you consciously step out of the conventional game of competition, when you refuse to set yourself up as a rigid target or an opponent, then who in the world can find a reason or an object to compete with you? You effectively remove yourself from the battleground, and thus you become unassailable. You're not fighting the current, you become the current.
That shifts the perspective entirely. So what then is this ultimate state of being whole that Lao Tzu refers to at the very end. Truly becoming whole returns one to this. It clearly means more than just surviving or succeeding materially.
Oh, absolutely. The meaning of wholeness here undergoes a profound sublimation. It transcends mere self-preservation or external success. That final line, returns one to this, points to the ultimate goal, and this refers back to the one that the sage embraces, the Tao itself.
So ultimate wholeness is returning to the Tao.
Yes. The highest state of wholeness isn't an external achievement at all. It's a deeply internal state of return, a homecoming to one's true nature. By consistently practicing the wisdom of bending, yielding, not contending, you gradually strip away the rigid ego, the confusion that comes from having much.
You shed the unnecessary layers.
Exactly. And in that resulting simplicity and clarity, you return to your original nature, which is inherently one with the Tao. It's a journey not of acquisition, but of shedding, of letting go.
This idea of a profound return reminds me of Professor Fu Perong's interpretation, looking at life from its end, from the perspective of completion. He used the final words of two great philosophers.
Yes, Socrates and Wang Yangming. They beautifully illustrate this ultimate state of return. Consider the death of Socrates. He famously saw death not as an end, but as the soul's recovery from the sickness of the body.
Right, he asked for a sacrifice to the god of healing.
Exactly. In his final moments, asking Crito to offer a sacrifice to Asclepius signifies his belief in a transcendent wisdom. He saw death as liberation, a return to a purer, healthier state of being, a return to true wholeness.
And Wang Yangming?
Wang Yangming, the great Ming Dynasty Neo-Confucian philosopher, his very last words were simply, "This heart is luminous, what more is there to say?"
Wow.
It demonstrates this sublime state of inner completeness, profound peace, no regrets. A heart that is truly returned to its own bright, whole, original state, perfectly aligned, perfectly at peace, with nothing left to add or subtract. Complete.
So through these powerful examples, we see that truly becoming whole returns one to this. Points not to physical immortality or worldly gain, but to living a life of such profound wisdom that you achieve this undeniable inner peace and completeness. You return to the fundamental source of all things.
That's the highest achievement of being whole, a state of complete self-acceptance and alignment with the deepest reality.
And because this chapter touches on such universal human struggles, ego, competition, the search for peace, it's no surprise it resonates so deeply today, even in the West.
Absolutely. In its encounter with Western thought, it reveals both its unique value and, frankly, the significant challenges it faces in our modern culture.
Let's talk about that resonance of wisdom first. These cross-civilizational truths. Lao Tzu's paradoxical wisdom finds surprising echoes in Western philosophy and psychology, doesn't it?
It really does. It's not just some isolated Eastern mysticism. Think about ancient Greek Stoicism, for example. Their advocacy for living according to nature, rationally accepting what's beyond our control.
Like Epictetus distinguishing what we can control from what we can't.
Exactly. That focus is highly consistent with the spirit of wu-wei, or non-action, in Taoism, which at its heart isn't about doing nothing, but about not forcing outcomes, flowing with the situation, yielding appropriately, acting in alignment with natural processes, not fighting against them.
And in modern psychology.
Even more striking, perhaps, is the similarity to Carl Jung's theory of shadow integration.
Ah, the shadow self.
Right. Jung believed that a psychologically healthy, whole person isn't someone without flaws or imperfections. Quite the opposite. It's someone who can bravely face, acknowledge, and integrate the seemingly negative, imperfect shadow parts of their own psyche.
The parts we usually deny or suppress, the bent or crooked parts.
Precisely. Jung saw this integration as essential. This is, in a way, a profound psychological interpretation of bent, it becomes whole, and crooked, it becomes straight. Only by embracing one's own imperfections, the bent and crooked parts of ourselves, can a person truly stop their internal conflict and achieve genuine psychological wholeness and integration.
Accepting all of who you are.
Exactly. The light and the shadow. Not just the parts you deem perfect or socially acceptable. This internal yielding, this acceptance, leads to profound inner peace.
Yet, despite these deep resonances, actually understanding and practicing core Taoist concepts like non-action or non-contention, Well, it faces huge challenges from modern culture, especially what people call hustle culture.
Oh, absolutely. Hustle culture is almost the philosophical opposite in many ways.
How so?
Hustle culture glorifies relentless self-promotion, constant external achievement, competitive victory at all costs, and endless pursuit of more. It treats busyness as a badge of honor.
Right. If you're not busy, you're lazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it sees rest or yielding as laziness, complacency, or even outright failure. The mantras are grind till you drop, never stop, always be closing.
Yeah.
In that kind of pervasive cultural atmosphere, Lao Tzu's profound wisdom often gets completely misunderstood or just deliberately ignored. Depleted, it becomes full, gets twisted into meaning you lack ambition. Having little one can gain is dismissed as passive escapism. And non-contention, well, that's just seen as failure, pure and simple, lack of drive.
So there's a huge cultural bias against it.
A massive one. It makes Lao Tzu's teachings sound extremely counterintuitive, almost nonsensical to some. It creates significant cognitive dissonance for many people who might intellectually grasp the wisdom but feel intense social pressure to do the exact opposite.
And this friction, this conflict between the ancient wisdom and modern values leads to what you called the dilemma of a double mindset.
Yeah, I think that captures it well. Intellectually, most people can grasp the depth, maybe even the correctness of Lao Tzu's wisdom. We can all admit, maybe after a particularly stressful week, that chasing wealth excessively or climbing the corporate ladder relentlessly often leads to anxiety, burnout, dissatisfaction. Not real happiness, we know this rationally. But here's the kicker. Despite knowing that in our daily behavior, we're still driven by this powerful social inertia. We subconsciously chase fame, fortune, external recognition in a relentlessly forward, upward direction.
There's that gap between knowing and doing.
A huge gap. There's this pervasive feeling, maybe unspoken, like Lao Tzu's words are nice, they sound wise, but they probably won't work for me. Not in the real world. I can't actually apply that and still get ahead.
It feels too risky.
Exactly. It's a form of wishful thinking, maybe, or just a deep-seated lack of genuine faith in the reverse path Lao Tzu proposes. And this universal gap between knowing and doing. Perhaps that's why Lao Tzu had to emphasize, this is why sages embrace the one and become models for the world.
Because words aren't enough.
Precisely. Verbal teachings can seem pale and weak against such powerful cultural inertia. The sage has to lead by example. They must use their own life of non-contention to demonstrate to the world that there is another true and valid path to genuine fulfillment.
The sage's life is the proof.
Yes. Their very existence is a silent yet profoundly powerful challenge to those mainstream values. It proves that advancing by retreating isn't just a nice idea. It's a higher, more sustainable form of wisdom. It offers a real, lived counter-narrative to the relentless grind.
That's a crucial point. Wisdom, if it's not practiced, just remains a beautiful idea, doesn't it? A castle in the air.
Exactly. Unreachable.
So, after this deep dive into the grand theory, how can we as ordinary people living in this often very un-Taoist world actually begin to practice this skill, this advancing by retreating in our daily conflicts, our daily contradictions?
Right. How do we bring it down to earth?
Let's move from the theory to a concrete, actionable life experiment, something people can try.
Okay, I like that.
We're calling this the 3-second yield exercise. It's designed as a small, manageable step to start embodying this profound wisdom in real life.
Okay, the 3-second yield. The principle here is simple, but I think quite profound. It directly reinforces bent. It becomes whole. It helps us experience how true completeness and strength can be found precisely in what looks like bending or yielding.
How does it work?
Think about arguments, disagreements, conflicts. Our gut instinct is usually to prove we're straight, we're right, our perspective is the only valid one.
Dig in your heels.
Exactly. And that attachment to being correct is often what traps us in a stalemate. It leaves us feeling incomplete, frustrated, totally exhausted.
Yeah.
This exercise is about consciously, intentionally bending just a little.
Just a little.
Just a little. It's not about admitting defeat or being weak. It's about creating new space, new possibility in the relationship and the situation through a tiny, sincere concession. This embodies Lao Tzu's core idea. It's because they do not contend, that no one in the world can contend with them. You're disrupting the usual conflict dynamic.
Okay, so what are the steps? How do you actually do it?
All right, here are the instructions. Try this out for a week. When you find yourself in a disagreement, could be with anyone, a colleague, family, friend, even online, and you feel that inner troll waking up, that part of you ready to fight to the death over who's right. Try this experiment.
Step 1.
First, notice the impulse. before you just impulsively retort with, no, you're wrong, it's actually, or let me tell you something. Just pause, take one beat. Feel that impulse rising, the urge to defend, to correct, to prove your point. Just notice it without acting on it immediately.
Okay. Pause and notice. Step 2.
Second, actively yield. Take a deep breath. Then, in a sincere and genuinely curious tone, this part is crucial, it has to feel authentic. Pick one of the following phrases to say out loud.
Okay. What are the options?
Maybe something like, that's an interesting way to look at it. Tell me more. Or, maybe I'm not fully understanding your point of view. Can you walk me through your thinking again? Or even, I hadn't considered that angle. Help me see it from your perspective.
Those sound reasonable. What about a harder one?
Okay, for those feeling brave, higher difficulty level, especially if your ego is really involved, you've raised a valid point I hadn't fully appreciated. I was thinking about it too simply. That one can be tough, but powerful.
Okay. Notice the impulse. Actively yield with a phrase. Step 3.
Finally, observe the shift. After you've spoken, just watch what happens. Does the other person's expression or tone soften, even slightly? Does the tense atmosphere relax a bit?
Okay.
Often when one person yields sincerely, the other person's defenses just naturally drop.
Interesting.
And maybe even more importantly, observe your own heart. When you let go of that burden of needing to be right, when you release that internal tension, do you feel a surprising sense of lightness? An openness from just letting the battle go. You might just discover that true wholeness isn't found in rigid victory, but in that single moment of bending, of choosing connection over correctness, embracing a broader perspective. It's like your own personal judo match, where you actually win by not fighting in the usual way.
This small, consistent exercise, it really is like practicing judo in the dojo of our daily lives, isn't it?
Exactly. It lets us experience firsthand that real power lies not in unyielding rigidity or brute force, but in that profound resilience and adaptability that creates space and dissolves conflict.
And when we bring that felt experience back to our understanding of this chapter, those golden phrases, they're no longer just distant philosophy.
No, they become tangible, transformative life wisdom that you can actually feel and apply immediately.
So, my friends, what we've really unpacked today is this kind of cosmic reverse operation wisdom from Lao Tzu. It turns out that true strength is hidden in bending. True fullness comes from being depleted. And an unbeatable power arises from what looks, on the surface, like a gentle retreat.
It's a radical inversion of how most of us are taught to approach life.
Lao Tzu is profoundly reminding us to stop seeing the world through such rigid black and white eyes. Bent and straight, gain and loss, weak and strong. Maybe they were never enemies at all.
No, they're two sides of the very same coin. Interdependent, cyclically flowing. Only when you can learn to embrace both sides at once, integrate them into your understanding and your practice, can you truly master the ultimate winning formula. That incantation that makes all conventional conflict instantly obsolete.
Remember it. Internalize it. It is because they do not contend that no one in the world can contend with them.
It's power.
The moment you truly lay down your weapons, in a sense, you win the entire world. It's a profound surrender that somehow brings total victory.
All right. So we've just received this remarkable martial arts manual of non-contention. But the real test for you, the listener, it really begins now. Because for this manual to truly work, for you to genuinely embody this paradoxical wisdom, you first have to understand the ultimate rules of the game of this world we live in.
Okay. What are those rules?
Well, in our next deep dive, Lao Tzu is going to reveal a secret about the universal law of energy, a secret that is both absolutely fair and, maybe because of that, incredibly, almost chillingly cold.
Chillingly cold. How so?
He tells us the universe is like a giant smooth mirror. It has no emotions, no judgment. It just faithfully reflects back whatever you are, whatever you commit yourself to.
Oh.
If you commit yourself to the Tao, he says, the Tao will gladly embrace you. If you commit yourself to virtue, virtue will also gladly embrace you. But here's the most chilling part. The next line is key. If you commit yourself to loss, then loss itself will just as gladly open its arms and pull you into its embrace.
Wow. So the universe just reflects our commitment, good or bad.
That's the implication. It doesn't care if you become a sage or end up, well, lost. It seems equally happy to help you reach the summit as it is to help you plummet. It simply amplifies what you project, what you align yourself with.
That raises a truly, spine-chilling question.
It really does. It demands our attention. In a universe that is utterly indifferent to our personal fate, how are we supposed to conduct ourselves? How can we ensure that the energetic signals we send out each day are attracting the echo of success, whatever that truly means, rather than unconsciously turning up the speed on the treadmill that leads towards the abyss of failure or loss?
Next time, then, let's try to decode the universe's most just and perhaps most dangerous law of energetic resonance.
Looking forward to it.
We'll see you then.